UFC Fight gets ended before it even started because of herpes. Rodolfo Bellato was scheduled to face Paul Craig in the co-main event of UFC Vegas 106, but the fight got pulled due to herpes of Rodolfo Bellato. Let me tell you more about it, a whole medical breakdown, all of it in this video. Hello and welcome to Bloodsport MMA.
Salam alaikum to everyone.
Just a couple minutes before the fight would have happened, the fight between Paul Bearchu Craig and Rodolfo Bellato had to get pulled because of a illness or medical emergency or just medical issue of Rodolfo Bellato is what we heard from the broadcast. Then Rodolfo Bellato went to Instagram a day after or something and posted the following. He also posted a video where he said something, I don't understand it, it's in Portuguese, but he wrote underneath, "I never thought that herpes would take me out of a fight. I'm sorry all of you guys, but it's something that's out of our control. I'll have more news soon." Now of course I could just be waiting for the news, but I was like, let me investigate that whole thing because that's a really interesting topic. How can herpes stop a fight, or how can that affect your MMA career as well? So I was just Googling, hey, what is even going on with herpes? Why couldn't you fight with it? So there's two types of herpes. HSV1 mostly spreads by oral contact and causes infections in and around the mouth. Oral herpes or cold sores. It can also cause genital herpes. Most adults are infected with HSV1, okay? Type 2 HSV2 spreads by sexual contact and causes genital herpes. Most people have no symptoms or only mild symptoms. The infection can cause painful blisters or ulcers that can recur over time. Medicines can reduce symptoms but can't cure the infections. So this was the first part that I was like, this could be the cause why the fight got pulled. Maybe because I would assume he has herpes since quite a while, he knows about it, whatever, and it caused a ulcer. I didn't even know that word existed before, but I think that's like stomach problems and stuff like that. Before the fight, that would be a possibility. I also read something about it can cause fever and all of that. So that could be a possibility that he got kind of sick because of it. He had like an outburst of it before the fight, because a blister, I don't think that would be a problem why you can't fight. But yeah, that could be a reason why he was not able to fight, even though in the video, like he made a video where he talked and it didn't seem like he was like being sick or something like that. So the other thing that I thought about was like, hey, can you even fight if you have herpes? And I asked ChatGPT that, and that brought me to a whole other thought, because ChatGPT said a person with herpes can potentially compete as a professional MMA fighter, but there are specific conditions and regulations they must adhere to. Herpes, particularly herpes simplex virus, HSV, can be a concern in contact sports due to the risk of transmission primarily through direct skin-to-skin contact. Herpes is mainly transmitted through direct skin contact, especially when there are open sores. Sweat itself is not a means of transmission. However, if there are sores or cuts, the virus can potentially be transmitted through these means, which obviously would be a real problem in an MMA fight. So I was thinking like, hey, how can you even fight overall if it can transmit through a cut or something like that? You should not be able to fight overall like that. So that got me thinking like, huh? Is it like new for him, herpes? Is it like something he just found out about 1 hour before the fight? That's kind of weird, because those medical tests that get made before the fight, like a couple of days before the fight and stuff like that. So I also asked ChatGPT, hey, does the Nevada State Athletic Commission, the athletic commission that was commissioning the fights on Saturday, right, have any rules about that? ChatGPT said yes. The NSAC has specific rules and guidelines regarding skin conditions, including herpes, for fighters to ensure safety in combat sports. Fighters must pass a medical examination before a bout, which includes checking for contagious skin conditions. This examination is intended to protect both the fighters and their opponent. Makes sense. So the commission would know about that herpes, right, of him. So the NSAC prohibits fighters from competing if they have contagious skin conditions that could pose a risk to others. That includes includes visible herpes, lesions, whatever, or outbreaks, a fighter might be required to provide medical documentation proving that their condition is not contagious at the time of the fight. And then it also says fighters diagnosed with herpes must often show evidence that they are undergoing proper treatment with antiviral medication. Clearance is usually required from a licensed healthcare professional provider confirming that the condition is not in an active or contagious stage. So what I could also see as a possibility, other than him getting sick from that herpes, is, and as I said, I'm still no medical professional, but from what I understand, herpes can have some of those outbursts where it is in a contagious stage where your opponent could easily get infected with it. And if you take medical treatment during the year, if you don't have one of those outbursts, it is not contagious necessarily. So you can normally fight if you have the medical treatment for it, which I would assume he gets. But somehow maybe the day of the fight, a herpes outburst, whatever happened, so it got contagious even though he takes the medication. And now because of the health of Paul Craig, they had to pull the fight because he couldn't get clear, because the risk of him infecting Paul would be too big because it's actively contagious at the moment. So those are the only two things I see. Now the problem with the second thing is that just like the 1 hour before the fight that you realize that? Like that seems kind of weird. And fighters are normally not the type of people that like will actively communicate that to the commission. Like so many fighters fight with staff, even though you would not necessarily be allowed to because it's highly infectious as well. So was it a stomach cramp? Was he having fevers? Maybe feeling ill or something like that? That's possible, but then again, like if you know about the condition, you are getting cure for it, and like you can just take a pill for that, I would assume. And he does a video where he looks healthy and normal. Just seemed weird to me, but it was kind of interesting to hear about that, because I always wonder what happens when a fighter has something like that, a condition, whatever kind of condition it is that is contagious, that is infectious for other people, because you're literally laying on top of each other, being sweaty, your saliva is spreading all over the place as well. Like if you can ever get infected with something from someone, it is during an MMA fight or grappling. So yeah, I would really like to know the details there. What was going on, why was pulled so close to the fight, and how he can even be cleared, because from what I understand, herpes is always kind of dangerous in terms of spreading, especially through oral contact. And even though they're not making out in the cage, spit always comes out during a fight somehow. And especially if you're like on top of someone in mount or whatever, it's easily possible that that little piece of spit somehow gets into his mouth, and you're like, yes, you're punching, some spit is coming out. Not like you're not spitting actively, but some saliva leaves your mouth, and he's below you and he takes those shots and he has his mouth open because he's tired. Like it's so easily possible, and you could not take that risk. That's a really interesting thing that, yeah, because of Rodolfo Bellato, we learned something more now, and I'm curious to hear what happened. But write your opinions in the comments. Are you a medical professional? Educate us in the comments. Write it all in the comments, you guys. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel, would appreciate that. Check out my merch, bloodshop.net, worldwide free shipping with the code FREE. The link is in the bio. Stay bloody, you guys, and until the next one, bye-bye. Bloodsport out.